Hi guys, Jodie Nicolson here, author of If Only. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say hi to all my supporters, maybe introduce myself to all you new supporters, and yeah, just give you a bit of background information really. My wonderful friends at IVF Babble have asked me to just fill you all in really on what my inspiration behind my new book is, what gave me the idea. So I just thought I'd do a little video and just touch base with you all. So basically, the reason behind all of this is that I've recently published my new book. So if you haven't already seen it and you haven't already got a copy, it's called If Only, and it's wonderful, it's amazing. So just give it a go. I'll perhaps do a snippet read, maybe a sneak peek later on in this video. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. So basically, if I start from the very beginning, my trying to conceive journey has been an absolute roller coaster, as I'm sure you're all familiar with. We were trying for maybe about 12 months before we approached the GP, and yeah, it hadn't happened for us. We had a slight inclination that perhaps any fertility issues, it was likely that they were going to be a contribution of mine. My husband does already have a daughter. She's absolutely amazing. But yeah, he does already have a child from a previous relationship. So although that doesn't guarantee that he will be able to necessarily conceive again, it did give us a heads up that any infertility factors were likely to be mine. So basically we approached the GP. My husband had to give a sample. Now I'm aware for the guys that the focus is usually on the women when they're struggling, when a couple is struggling with infertility, and I don't really want to take anything away from the guys. I appreciate that things are difficult for you as well. You know, the men can have it really tough, just as tough as some of us women. However, in our case, Steve's part of our tests and IVF journey up to that point was quite simple. Like I said, that's not the case for everybody, but for him it was. So he gave his sample and everything was fine. They confirmed that the sample was brilliant. So Steve's part of this journey kind of stopped there for now. He wasn't really required to do much more at that stage. Obviously, I relied heavily upon Steve for emotional support. Steve was my rock throughout the entire process. But his tests were kind of finished with that sample. So I, on the other hand, had to have blood tests, scans, internal scans. I had what's known as a dye test. Now for me that was horrific. Way worse than any internal scans. I think that up until IVF itself, the dye test was probably the most horrendous procedure that I've ever experienced in my life. However, don't be too disheartened by that, because there's many other women that I've spoken to that have had that same procedure, and for them it wasn't half as a traumatic experience as what I've described. So it's completely different for everybody. I'm just keen to be honest about what I experienced. I don't want to pretty things up. I want to be honest with you all. So I had all of those, and it was confirmed that I had 2 collapsed fallopian tubes. I therefore wasn't ovulating, and I had polycystic ovaries. So yeah, my body officially sucks. I was offered a procedure on the NHS. So basically at this stage we were advised that because Steve already had a daughter, even though our local CCG offered 3 funded attempts at IVF, we wouldn't be offered the same as everybody else. they actually declined to fund us because Steve had his daughter already. So I was really angry with that process. I felt like I was being penalised because my husband had a child. At the end of the day, it's me that is infertile, it's me that can't have children, and therefore, in my eyes, it's me that requires funding, regardless of who my husband is, what his past relationships entailed, what his relationship dynamic was. It was me that needed the funding, and I was being deprived of that. So as angry as we were, unfortunately, with the appeals process being as long and as complicated as it is, time just wasn't a luxury that Steve and I felt like we were patient enough to endure. So we decided not to appeal, just to try and raise the funds to pay for IVF. In the meantime, our consultant offered us a procedure whereby he was going to try and unblock my 2 collapsed fallopian tubes. Now, as far as I'm aware, this isn't a standard procedure. It's quite unheard of to try and attempt that. So I'm not sure that had we have received funding for the 3 cycles of IVF, I'm not sure that he would have offered this procedure as well. I think that this was because we'd been declined funding. He was giving it one last go, really, before we had to self-fund. So he attempted that. Unfortunately, the procedure was unsuccessful. He said that my tubes were irreparably damaged, both with scar tissue and fluid. He couldn't get any kind of medical instrument or even fluid in those tubes at all. So he tried his best, but unfortunately that wasn't the case for us. It wasn't successful. So from there, he advised us that the NHS was closing our file and that we had to seek private fertility treatment. So that was kind of the time in our journey that things got real. I've kind of always been one of those people that on the surface, I'm quite a bit of a stress head. I flap all the time. Everything stresses me. The smallest thing stresses me out. However, deep down inside, I kind of always try to maintain the mentality that everything's going to be okay. It'll all work out in the end. And actually, when I got given this diagnosis and the procedure hadn't been successful, it was the first time really that I'd ever thought, actually, it's not going to be okay. Like, what are we going to do? We don't have the money to pay for IVF. Even if we did, what happens if it doesn't work? Like, what does this mean for us? So yeah, that was the first time that this really hit hard for me, and I struggled massively with the diagnosis that I wasn't going to be able to conceive naturally. At the end of the day, as women, and particularly for me, I feel like society teaches us from such a young age, surrounding sex and fertility. You must be careful. It only takes once to get pregnant. And actually that's not the case. So a lot of our, particularly my generation, we were brought up on society's view that it only takes once to get pregnant. So I had those types of expectations from fertility, and it's not the case. It's a long, hard journey for a lot of people. So I really struggled at that point. We luckily were in a position that we could downsize and release some equity from the house. We hoped that the money would then therefore pay for IVF. However, by the time we'd made the move, with legal fees and moving costs, there wasn't much left at all. So we didn't have the funds, but thankfully, due to our amazing support network, our family and our friends, we managed to get the money together to fund a cycle. We couldn't have done it without the contribution of family and friends. We really couldn't have done it. So we owe those people a lot, you know, for investing in our journey to become parents. We can never thank them enough. So yeah, so we got the money together and we went for it. We went for IVF. So I don't really want to tell you or to give anything more away of our journey. It's all in my book. That was kind of the inspiration, the point in me telling you all of this, is that by this stage I felt like I had so much to get out, so much to share with the world, with the Trying to Conceive community. I'd found this community, this lifeline of people and support that guided me through an unknown journey, an unknown territory. And I felt like I wanted to reach out to those people, whoever they are, all of you. Just thank you for your support. So in the build up to IVF, I looked and purchased some books, some reading literature, and I felt like although at the time they were useful, they didn't quite prepare me for the reality of what IVF is. A lot of them try to pretty up the process, I assume, in the hopes that it's going to make you feel better, it's going to maybe curb some of the fear that we all experience in the beginning, the unknown. But actually, now on this side of treatment, I'd much rather have had something that said, actually, this is real, this is crap, this is how bad it gets, just so that I was prepared for how brutal IVF can be, particularly for me. I'm aware, and I do note this in the book, that everybody's journey is different, so just because I really struggled doesn't mean that everybody struggles. Just because I choose to be open doesn't mean that everybody needs to be open to deal with their journey. It's such an individual process, regardless of how common it is. But I felt like if I could just share my story, it may help, it might not. I've had some really positive feedback from the book, so yeah, I'm encouraged by that, that my intentions are good and that people are getting what I intended them to get from the book. So basically it's my account, it was my journal. I decided to do a daily journal. I'd read that it was helpful for people experiencing this, and I was mindful that when we edited the book, because my spelling's atrocious, I was mindful that we didn't edit my words. Actually, the bulk of the book, whatever I felt at the time was what I wrote, and it was really important for me to maintain that it was authentic and that it was real, and that you all got the real side, my real experience, not the prettied up version. So yeah, so if you buy the book, that's exactly what you're getting. It's my daily journal from when I was going through IVF. So yeah, maybe I could read you a little snippet, just give you a little taste as to what to expect. So it's just a random page, nothing in particular. I've just opened the book, page 9, so that if you do already have a copy of the book, you can see where I'm taking this from, maybe read along. So yeah, so page 9, it's a new chapter on page 9, and it is, today's mood is angry. At everything. Life, Steve, people that can get pregnant, people that are pregnant, of which there were many. I can't believe how many pregnancy announcements seem to slap me in the face lately. Everybody is pregnant. I'm angry at everything and everyone, nobody in particular, just people. I'm angry at people that I don't even know. I'm angry at myself for allowing this to turn me into something that I'm not. I don't mean angry, I'm angry anyway, just ask Steve. In fact, don't. I mean, this curse has made me unreasonable, judgmental, sad and vulnerable. I'm all of these things and I desperately don't want to be. Infertility is a thief. Not just a thief of your physical ability, but a thief of who you are. It completely consumes you. You feel yourself slipping away. you become someone other than yourself for short periods of time, and you continuously battle between these two versions of yourself, only returning to your original self long enough to acknowledge that this is now your new normal. So there you go. So that's a little snippet. I hope you enjoyed that. If you feel like you can relate to that, if that's reached you in any way, if you want to engage back with that, then yeah, go and get a copy of the book. If you have got a copy, if you intend to get a copy, I really hope that you enjoy it. Please do reach out to me. I'm trying to be as visible as possible on social media at the moment, and I really try to engage with anybody that takes the time to engage with me. I think that's really important. So feel free to DM me, engage on any of my posts, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Good luck, love and strength for anybody that's currently on a journey of their own, whatever that journey is, infertility or not, whatever that looks like for you. And thank you so much for all of your support. I guess I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks. Bye.